Use headphones for a better experience.
There's nothing unusual about elevators, right? You press a button, you go to your floor. But what if one day the elevator takes you somewhere you're not supposed to be? Somewhere that wasn't meant for you? This is what happened to me, and I hope my story serves as a warning. I'd been working late that night. My job wasn't glamorous, just another office gig in a tall, gray skyscraper downtown. The building was one of those corporate fortresses with sterile white walls and endless rows of identical floors. I hated it, but the paycheck kept me coming back. It was almost midnight when I finally finished my work. Most of the building was empty. Only the occasional security guard roamed the halls. I packed my things, locked my office, and headed to the elevator. The fluorescent lights flickered as I stood there, waiting. When the doors opened, I stepped inside, pressing the button for the ground floor. As the doors began to close, I felt a strange sensation, like the air in the elevator had grown heavier. A faint, metallic hum filled the space. I ignored it, assuming it was just my exhaustion playing tricks on me. But then, the elevator stopped. Not at my floor. The small screen above the doors displayed a number I'd never seen before: 13. That didn't make sense. I knew this building like the back of my hand, and it didn't have a 13th floor. Like many older skyscrapers, it skipped from 12 to 14. I told myself it must be a glitch and pressed the ground floor button again. The elevator didn't move. The doors slid open to reveal a hallway I didn't recognize. It was dimly lit, the walls lined with peeling wallpaper and flickering sconces. The air smelled damp, like a basement left untouched for decades. I should have stayed inside the elevator, but curiosity, or maybe stupidity, got the better of me. I stepped out. The hallway stretched endlessly in both directions. At first, it seemed abandoned, but then I heard faint noises. A whisper here, a creak there. My footsteps echoed unnaturally loud against the cracked tile floor. The further I walked, the more I felt like I was being watched. Then, I saw it. A door at the end of the hall, slightly ajar, with a faint yellow light spilling out. My instincts screamed at me to turn around, to get back into the elevator, but something drew me toward it, like an invisible thread pulling me closer. As I approached, I noticed strange symbols scratched into the wood around the doorframe. They didn't look like any language I'd ever seen. I pushed the door open, and what I saw inside made my blood run cold. It was an office, but not like any office I'd ever been in. The walls were covered in hundreds, no, thousands of photographs. They were all of me. Me at my desk, me walking to work, me eating lunch at my favorite cafe, even me sitting in my apartment watching TV. The most chilling part? Many of these photos were taken from angles that shouldn't have been possible, like they were taken by someone standing directly behind me. In the center of the room was a single desk with a chair facing away from me. On the desk was an old rotary phone, its receiver off the hook. A low, static hum crackled from it. Then, the chair turned. There was no one there. I stumbled backward, my heart racing. The static from the phone grew louder, almost deafening, until a distorted voice came through. "You shouldn't have come here." The lights in the room flickered violently, and I felt a cold breeze sweep past me. Panicking, I bolted out of the room and back toward the elevator. The hallway seemed longer now, stretching endlessly in both directions. Shadows flickered in my peripheral vision, but when I turned to look, there was nothing there. Finally, I reached the elevator. The doors were still open, as if it had been waiting for me. I jumped inside and frantically pressed the button for the ground floor. The doors closed. The ride down felt slower than usual. The metallic hum was louder now, almost rhythmic, like a heartbeat. I stared at the floor counter, watching as the numbers ticked down. 12, 11, 10. Then the elevator stopped again. The doors opened, and this time I was back in the lobby, but something felt off. The security desk was empty, the lights dimmer than they should have been. I walked outside, hoping to shake the unease. The city was silent. No cars, no people, no sound. It was like the world had been frozen. That's when I noticed the clocks on the nearby buildings. They all showed the same time, 3:33 a.m. I checked my phone, but it wouldn't turn on. It was as if time itself had stopped. Over the next few days, I tried to go back to my normal routine, but things weren't the same. Every night, I had nightmares about that hallway and the room with the photographs. I started noticing small changes around me, items in my apartment slightly moved, strangers on the street staring at me for a second too long. Then one morning, I found a photograph slipped under my door. It was of me, taken the night I entered the 13th floor. On the back, written in shaky handwriting, were the words, "Don't go back." What's the lesson here? Curiosity isn't always a good thing. In our world of constant exploration, whether it's online or in real life, we're often tempted to push boundaries without considering the consequences. Sometimes there are places we're not meant to go, things we're not meant to see, and when we ignore those boundaries, we risk losing more than we can imagine. So the next time you feel that pull toward the unknown, ask yourself, is it worth it? Because some doors, once opened, can never be closed.
Don't miss out on the scares. Go subscribe to the channel for terrifying stories, legend breakdowns, and more. Bell turn on notifications and experience horror like never before.